It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I will say for anyone who's interested in, in the ghost tours, so this year they were only on Fridays and Saturdays in September and October, but they're coming back next fall, certainly. We're not sure the schedule yet, but certainly on weekends in the fall. The museum itself is open for regular tours in the daytime Wednesday through Sunday, starting May 1st. It's open May through October. So if people are interested in coming to visit. So the ghost tours and things like this have brought a lot of attention to the paranormal aspects of the Fairbanks house, which I think is great because it is so wrapped up in the history and because it's really great for getting, more attention and more exposure for the house. But it does have some interesting challenges because, for instance, we have a lot of public school kids who come to the house for field trips. And now that the ghost tours have been around for long enough, everyone's heard about them. So now every single group of third graders who come through, is this house haunted? Is there ghosts? Are we going to see ghosts? Are we going to see zombies? Oh, something moved in the window. I think it's a zombie. So it's...
No zombies, children.
Yeah,
there are no zombies.
There's no zombies.
I was just going to say, because we have a lot of kids who listen to this show, and can you confirm zombies at this point?
We cannot. No, we cannot.
We confirm there have been no zombie sightings at the Fairbanks house.
Yeah, no
ghosts only.
No zombies, no mummies,
no vampires,
but
ghosts. Yeah. And again, they're friendly ghosts.
That's about, and even, most of the experiences people have are sound based or feeling based. People, will see, in terms of sight, people see orbs. A few people have seen, a face or, someone was working on a glass display case and they saw a reflection of someone and then turned around and there was no one there. Mm-hmm. But there's not a lot of visual evidence, which is another reason why the whole thing with the Kinect technology is so interesting because it's a way to get visual evidence.
Yeah.
But the majority of the evidence is sound and feel based.
Yeah.
Cool. And so I guess everyone listening should go check out the Fairbanks house because apparently that's what keeps the alarms at bay.
Yes.
As long as we keep telling their story, they won't set off the alarm on us in the middle of the night.
And I just think that's so fascinating. And even, I obviously love a good ghost tour, but even just the general history of the house, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
to have something so old, it's
and
incredible.
so uniquely unchanged.
Yeah.
Because like I said, even anything even sort of even close to that old is just not in this way that this is unmodified and unchanged. And it's a really unique site for knowing about colonial history, colonial architecture. Yeah. And the more people who know about it, the better, because it's a treasure that a lot of people aren't aware of.
Especially in Dedham, Massachusetts, which I feel even in the last 10, 15 years has gone through so many changes itself as a town and as a community.
Absolutely.
To have this amazing piece of history there is incredible.
It really is. For many years, the Fairbanks House was sort of, it's its own thing, and we've been trying to work with the town of Dedham, with the Dedham Historical Society, Dedham Library, and more, which is part of why I was at the Norwood Library giving the talk that you saw us at. So, just kind of getting the word out there in whatever way we can, because, for years we've been, people who are interested in early colonial history and people who are interested in history of architecture have always known about the house. It's okay, how do we get everybody else to know we're there?
Right.
And so this is all part of that. Really.
It's very, very cool. Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Unrelated to the house.
Okay.
This is just really for me. Our listeners, I hope you like it, but it's for me and it's for a few people who work for me because I have a few people from Dedham who work for me. Why is Flag Day such a big deal in Dedham?
We have no idea.
Okay.
I think I heard one person postulated that it was it's just because the other towns around Dedham have all taken the 4th is big in this town and Memorial Day is big here, and nobody had taken Flag Day yet.
So for people,
and that's it, I think.
For people listening who are not from Massachusetts,
it's a really big deal.
Flag Day, which is June 14th, is a massive day in Dedham, Massachusetts. They have a parade.
And a big parade where we get we have we had sailors from the Constitution and nation renowned bands and bigger names than you would think for a Flag Day parade.
Yeah, and I think it's the only parade Dedham has in the entire year. They don't have any no Thanksgiving Day parade, no Christmas.
No memorial, no 4th of July.
They just have Flag Day.
No, it's just, it's
so
a huge deal.
That was the one theory I heard put forth was that, It was one day they weren't competing with any of the other towns for their parade.
It's one of those, no one really talks about why. Everyone just talks about, next Flag Day. I think a couple years ago it was the 50th Flag Day celebration anniversary or something. So they've been doing it for a while.
Oh yeah.
I wish I had a better reason for you, because I know every Flag Day I'm like, why?
You know what?
But it's nice for us because the parade begins and ends at Dedham Middle School, which is literally across the intersection from the Fairbanks House.
Oh, very cool.
So we get to, see the beginning and end of it.
Yeah, we can just sit on the stone wall next to the house and watch it.
Wow.
So.
But yeah, sorry, we can't be more specific because
we don't know either.
You know what? Sitting across from historians, I kind of like that answer.
Yeah, sometimes even we don't know.
It's so silly.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So if people want to get in touch with you guys and learn more about the house, what's your website? What's the contact info?
Fairbankshouse.org. And there is a contact form on the website as well as our email addresses.
But I think so for Daniel, it's curator Daniel at fairbankshouse.org. And for me, it's programs with an S, programs at fairbankshouse.org. People who are in the area, definitely keep an eye on our website and on our Facebook page, because we are doing a lot of programming. This is still pretty new for the Fairbanks House, but this past summer we did some, stories and s'mores, or we told stories around our, we have a fire pit on the opposite side of the property from the 400-year-old wooden house, of course. Yeah. But we, make s'mores and tell stories. We did a cheese and butter making class. At the end of September, we have a fall festival with reenactors and hard cider and spirits and vendors and all sorts of good stuff. And if people are interested, Dan is giving the same ghost talk you went to. Dan is giving again at the Memorial Library in Norwood on December 2nd. So if you're interested in that, contact them. I don't know. I know you need to reserve a space. I don't know.
Yeah, the first one sold out, and so they actually called back everybody who was on the wait list to do it again.
I will say that is very true. First of all, it was a great talk, and everyone listening, you should go, and we will throw that event up on our social media so you guys can find it there. Sure. But Beth had called me like the day before, and she's like, hey, we're really going, right? Because the library just called us because there's like a huge wait list for this event. And I was like, yeah, we'll be there. Mm-hmm. So, it was big, and you should go. It was very interesting, and you'll learn even more than you heard tonight. So that is December 2nd.
December 2nd. And February 3rd, Dan is at the same library giving a talk about how to build a house that lasts 400 years. So basically your question from the beginning of, why this house is still standing, he's giving a whole talk about that. Cool. If anyone's more interested in the historic or architecture side than the paranormal side, which is weird that you're listening to a, ghost podcast if you're not into the paranormal stuff, but, no judgment, whatever.
So.
Well, that's awesome. And thank you guys so much for coming in.
Oh,
this
was
great.
Yeah.
Very perfect. And we will keep in touch.
Definitely.
If possible, if you guys want to send us any of your spooky videos, we'll throw those up on our stuff so people can kind of go and see and link up. And this was awesome.
Thank you so much for having us.
You.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Allison and Dan. That was interesting. That was super interesting. Super spooky, too. So, everyone, if you're local, please go make sure to go hear their talks. And in the summertime, go and look around. It's a cool spot. I can't wait to. Now it's time for Drive-By Ghostings, the section of the show every week where we read your ghost stories back to you. So, here we go.
We gotta call the aquarium or something, dude.
Did that sound clip sound familiar? Yes, it's true. We got a follow-up from Mike from Arizona, formerly from Massachusetts. Here we go. For part 2, here's a quick one. After my dorm at UMass, I moved into my first apartment in Sunderland, Mass. According to my internet research, the house was built in 1835. The downstairs occupant was the office of the lawyer who owned the property. I believe the house was the old preacher's home, but I have no real proof of that. The house is right across the street from the town's first Congregationalist church, which itself dates back to 1717. This is old New England. This house had some bona fide bad mojo, if not truly bad. The spirit, or spirits here, were cranky. I only lived in the house for about 6 months, but that was because of money, not the haunting. But the summer I lived there, I experienced some things. The job I had while I was living there was doing closing shifts at the Cumberland Farms up the road. I would get home around 12:30, 1 a.m. each night. My roommate had a little studio up in the attic. The attic light would almost always be on, and half the time he wasn't home or hadn't been up there all day. The attic was one of those spaces I'd go into and the hairs would stand on end. It would feel like someone was staring me down as I went back down the stairs. After a while, I stopped turning off the light or going in the attic altogether. One day when I first moved in, I was unpacked and sorting through boxes. Of course, I was playing CDs on the stereo while working. I was listening to a band called Controlled Bleeding, grating metal industrial. I would bring something upstairs, come back, and the CD was off. Cue up the song I was at, keep working, go upstairs, come down, off. This happened like 5 times before I changed CDs to one by low. Indie fans will appreciate the abrupt juxtaposition of styles. So did whatever was stopping the other CD. The player worked just fine after that. Often, at odd hours, like 2 a.m. on a Sunday, we would hear someone stomping around the lawyer's library, which was directly below our kitchen. I mostly thought our landlord was down there furiously doing case prep at off hours. Turns out it was never him. My bedroom in that house had 2 doors. One went to a hallway that the other bedrooms all had doors to, and the other went into the kitchen. The door to the kitchen was just planks, kind of rustic, like a shed door. It had old-fashioned bar and never latch that never really worked, and a hook-and-eye lock that actually kept the door closed and locked. One wall of the room was the outer wall of the house, and the 4th wall separated my bedroom from the living room. The kitchen and living room were super creaky. No way could someone walk around the apartment without being heard. One night, after coming home from being out drinking beers around a campfire, I climbed into bed and promptly passed out. But as the kitchen door never latched, I made sure to use the eye hook. I was barely starting to dream when something slammed the kitchen door hard. I woke up, startled out of inebriation. I laid there a while, expecting to hear creaking tiptoes through the room. My roommate just messing with me. Quiet. I laid a bit longer. Quiet. Finally, freaked out, I got up to make sure someone hadn't followed me. I grabbed my flashlight and shone at the door. The latch was knocked open. I went to the kitchen. Nothing. I checked the door from the outside. Locked. I checked around the apartment. I was home alone. That was a great story, Mike. Thank you. Good story. That one was really spooky. I liked that one a lot. Ooh. Okay. And so, now it is time for our next story. And you know what that sound clip means. It is now time for another ghost story told to us by Jen from Maine. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Jen, and this story happened to me about 5 years ago. I was in my bedroom, was falling asleep, and I started noticing that in a certain corner of my room, there would be this dark shape, this darker than dark. The only way I can explain it is my room was dark, but the figure was darker. And it was crouching in the corner. And I know that image sounds very frightening, but it didn't feel threatening. I was afraid because that's strange, but it didn't feel like a menacing presence. So I started noticing this sometimes at night when I was falling asleep. And then I started feeling the edge of my bed being bumped, like as if someone was standing there and sort of nudged it with their hip slightly. And that would happen every so often. And it started to bother me. And then one night I was falling asleep, but I was still awake. So I was laying on my stomach in my bed under the blankets, and I felt